And thank you for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. We're going to start with an update on the Rocky Creek slide situation. As many of you have been following, convoys are continuing to around the slide area and the Rocky Creek area, and Caltrans continues to plan for repairs, and the Big Sur community is managing best they can. We're going to get an update on all of this with all of our partners who are involved in this, and we'd like to start with our colleagues at Caltrans to give us an update on repairs and the convoys. We've got Kevin Drabinski with us. Hi, Kevin.
Hi. Hey, good afternoon. Let's see, there we go. I just want to make mention of the convoys to start out, and that is that the 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. daily convoys through Rocky Creek will be canceled on this Saturday, April 13th. We have rain forecast for Saturday per the National Weather Service briefing this morning. So the convoy schedule is now 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. That'll continue Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we're canceling the Saturday convoys at 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. There's an expectation that the convoys will resume at 7 a.m. on Sunday, April 14th. We're going to wait until we get an update from the Weather Service this Friday morning to confirm the feasibility for that for the Sunday resumption of convoys, but wanted to give everybody the adequate notice that the convoys will be canceled for this Saturday. And then I'd like to summarize some of the work that's led up to today since the March 30th slip out. Caltrans has conducted, really important and vital geotech assessments, which allowed us to resume on March 31st, twice daily convoys. We completed surveys at the site, implemented a traffic management system for the corridor so that people are advised through signage of the closures ahead. On the northbound shoulder area, we went in and created a little extra room. We improved the drainage on the northbound shoulder and also widened the northbound shoulder area to give the northbound lane a little extra room. Everyone has seen the K-rail, the concrete barriers that we placed along the center line to help channelize the convoy passage. And then while all that was going on, we developed and completed design and construction details for the stabilization of the edge of the roadway. That's really been the focus since day one, is to develop a design, finalize the construction details, and now we've been able to engage a contractor who's mobilized to the site. We hope later this week to release an estimate on when that edge stabilization work will be complete. That'll be an important milestone for everyone. Contracted crews started working yesterday, and what they're doing is they're drilling and installing and grouting vertical rock dowels through the southbound lane towards the edge of the pavement. So the existing west edge of the roadway, they're spacing out these 25-foot vertical dowels, which are being drilled and then installed and grouted into the roadway. That's the first step of the edge stabilization. We're waiting. We should have equipment on site by tomorrow that'll allow us to take on the next phase of that edge stabilization. And that is a little bit more adventurous work in which they'll repeat the drilling of these essentially 1.25 inch rebar dowels horizontally, so reaching out over the edge of the pavement, and then having crew members drill through the entire run of the failure area, and so then they'll reinforce that. They'll install reinforced shotcrete on the vertical face of the repair. Understandably, that horizontal hanging off the edge and drilling is going to take a little longer than the vertical drilling right in the roadway. Until we're able to stabilize the edge of the roadway, we'll continue using convoys to move local residents and essential workers only through the area. And then once the roadway edge is stabilized, crews will install a temporary signal system and open Highway 1 to unrestricted traffic under one-way traffic control. Again, we hope to have an estimate on when the edge stabilization will be complete sometime later this week. That's our report for today, man.
Kevin, thanks very much. And I think your description of that repair as adventurous is pretty light. That's a very adventurous repair. I'm not seeing any questions in chat, and I don't know if any of our media partners have any questions. Oh, here's a question for you. What is Shot Creek? Crete.
I'd spell it S-H-O-T, Crete, and it's just a way of it's a great YouTube search, but you're essentially preparing the vertical face of the slide. Oh, Zeke's on. I'm going to defer to the engineer here. Go ahead, Zeke.
Mm-hmm. Sorry for joining late, a little bit of technical difficulties. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, shotcrete is a concrete or a cementitious product that is sprayed on. So as Kevin was talking about earlier, that'll be applied from that crane in a man basket, or we call it a crane deck, and they'll pump concrete down there, and then the crew will manually shoot that on, and it sticks to that face. And so that face that Kevin was talking about is a reinforced face that'll connect to the different bolts that were applied horizontally, and that helps distribute the load. So any forces in there are spread out over or transfers the load to adjacent soil nails or actually rock bolts that are used in the stabilization effort.
I really appreciate that. It's kind of trying to get a picture of what that is. It's really interesting. And then another question for Kevin, when you talk about the edge stabilization estimate, when you say later this week, are you thinking Friday or possibly not until the end of the weekend for this information to start filtering out?
We certainly hope by Friday to have an estimate available.
And then I had a question that came in before the briefing, and is there any work that would be done that would prevent any of the convoys? As you look ahead, should people be prepared to not have any access while some of this work is being done?
At present, no. For the edge stabilization, no. The edge stabilization will allow us to have a signalized one-way reversing traffic control. And then, Zeke, if you have any comment on a final repair, how that might involve traffic, I haven't heard.
Yeah, that's still being under development, but just so everybody knows that we're running on parallel paths. You know, one path is the work that Kevin just described, and then simultaneously we've engaged a large team to start looking at the final repair. It's likely to be a viaduct, which is, you know, what we would consider like a half-width bridge, and it's a little too early to tell what the impacts will be going forward and what the timeline looks like for that ultimate structural repair. But as Kevin indicated, the end of this edge stabilization will also include the installation of a signal. So the community will have unrestricted access through that one-way reversing traffic control device. And then as we get closer to knowing what the final repair details are, we'll be looking at that more closely. But of course, we'll be trying to minimize any impacts to the community. Again, you've seen the imagery, though. It's right there on the edge. So I think that at some point we'll be looking at, you know, some sort of need to maybe do closures in facilitation of that, because again, the viaduct will require rather large supporting elements that support the bridge structure. So that's large drilling equipment, not like the equipment that we're using now, but, you know, big vertical shafts. So more details to come on that, but that's still a ways out. But yes, I would expect there will be some modest impacts, you know, in the future when that gets going.
Thank you. And another question is, do you have a cost estimate for the repairs at this point? I'm not sure who wants that one.
The initial
Yeah.
Emergency response was handled on an emergency $1 million contract. There will be additional costs associated with the work for the edge stabilization.
So the 1
Yeah, I
million was
can.
for the, yeah, if you could define that just a little bit more.
Sure. I really want to make sure people don't get misunderstand what that $1 million cost estimate is all about. The $1 million is how we get started. So we do, through our emergency process, we get authorization to just get started, and then the details follow. So I would, we've been looking at the total cost, and we're in excess of $25 million, and that will also include the permanent repair. So at this point, it's a little early to break down the difference between the two repairs. I think we're probably in the neighborhood of somewhere around $8 million for this temporary stabilization effort, and then we'll be able to more closely refine the estimated cost of the permanent restoration, and that's that structural repair, the viaduct that I had mentioned earlier. I hope that's helpful, but I just want to make sure that this audience in particular doesn't grab a hold of that $1 million estimate, because it's significantly in excess of that.
Understood. And I really appreciate you highlighting that. And we really need to keep connected with you to, as these costs change and the work changes, those numbers are going to change as well. Are there any other questions for our friends at Caltrans? I see nothing in chat, and I'm not seeing any hands raised. Thank you both. We'd like to have our colleague Jessica Madueno from CHP here to talk about the convoys and how they are doing, because you guys are right there manning them. Hi, Jessica.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Jessica Madueno with the California Highway Patrol. Just a brief information on what's been going on down with the convoys. We have approximately 500 to 600 vehicles on a daily basis. The officers are screening each vehicle, and with that, we have about 50 vehicles a day that are intending to go down to LA, Santa Barbara, and travel south that we're turning around. And today we had about 225 vehicles this morning at the 7 a.m. convoy. Our messaging, united as allied agencies, is getting out there. Even with those numbers just reported, about 90% of the people that are down there do know of the change of our convoys from 8 and 5 p.m., or excuse me, from 8 and 4 to 7 and 5 p.m. So they are aware with our messaging is doing a great job getting the message out there.
Thank you very much. And I think it's really good to reinforce why people are being turned around, you know, why this convoy is just for locals and essential workers.
Correct. And we do want to remind the public out there that these convoys do go on for 1 hour at each different time in the morning and in the afternoon. And as well, just a reminder to all those folks out there that the vehicles are screened, and just to be a reminder, residents, essential workers are the only ones that we want down in that area. Thankfully, so far we have no incidents that have occurred down within the closure, so we're thankful for that.
Well, it's also interesting, if people were going to drive down to LA on one, they're going to encounter a few more little problems on the way past Big Sur too. So they go to check their quick maps, right?
That's right.
All right. Are there any questions for Jessica about the convoys or anything with CHP? Jessica, I do have a question for you. Can you clarify if an authorized resident or essential worker shows up by the end of each convoy hour by 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., would they be able to get through?
Well, that's the problem. We don't want to give a hard yes, because we don't want another second set of vehicles coming at that end of the closure. We just want to remind those folks to stick to the beginning of that closure. They are an hour long. Remember that there is work being done during the closure, so we do need those lanes. This equipment takes about an hour for this heavy machinery to move. So the sooner we get started, the more time that we can get through all these repairs.
So really encouraging people, if they need to use the convoy, get there when it starts, even if they have to be patient and wait a little bit in order to get through. is your
Yeah,
best advice?
that is preferred, but however, we know that these changes do affect many lives, so we're definitely understandable to that.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I really
Thank you.
appreciate the information. We're hoping to see Chief Matt Harris from Big Sur Fire. I'm wondering if that is him on the phone.
It is.
Fantastic. Hi, Chief Harris. Thanks for joining us. I'm wondering if you can give us some information from Big Sur Fire.
Sure. So thank you, everyone, and appreciate being able to attend the briefing here. In terms of Big Sur Fire and emergency response for the Big Sur area, we have not made any changes to our department. However, we have been working with the county EMS to come up with an alternative transport plan, which involves air ambulances just due to the closure. So we will take each individual emergency on its own, basically evaluate each one individually and do what's best for the patient while also taking into consideration our access issues. That pretty much concludes my report in terms of the emergency response. If anybody has any questions.
If anyone has questions for Chief Harris, you can go ahead and put them in chat. I'm hoping you might talk a little, with the convoys and with access being limited, how are you managing, needs that people might have or concerns that people might have about the potential to be isolated at a bad time?
Yeah, so we have, the initial evening where the road slipped out, we had a significant increase in calls, and I'm talking about just phone calls to our station and some of the firefighters down there about what's going on. We did have a couple of emergency transports where we actually transported by ground up to the closure and wheeled the gurney across to a waiting ambulance on the other side. But at this point, because of the good work and communication with everybody involved, the community now is relatively self-sufficient in terms of their medical needs. They've been able to get their prescriptions. They've been able to get to their appointments due to the good information we put out there about the convoys. So right now we are doing well and hope to sustain that through the continued convoys and closures.
Thanks very much, Chief Harris. Really great information. Are there any questions for Chief Harris before we let him go? I'm not seeing anything in chat and no hands raised. Thank you very much. For taking the time to fill us in on this important information, Chief. And then
you're very welcome.
Last, absolutely, but not least, we are very pleased to have Kirk Gafill, Big Sur Chamber of Commerce, to fill us in on what's happening in the community and with the businesses there. Hi, Kirk.
Hi, thank you very much. First of all, to Caltrans and CHP, thank you for the accommodation on the convoy times. That was a nice collaboration with community stakeholders to find a better suited time frame. Nothing's perfect for sure, and there is some confusion on the whether somebody can get through more than once in a given convoy hour or how many iterations there will be there. But the messaging seems clear on the 7 and 5 now. With respect to what's going on in the community and the business community in particular, we are now on the 12th day of this event and the 11th day with a hard full closure north and south. So the economic impacts on employees and businesses are accruing daily and increasing as we get closer and closer into the later spring and approach summer season. And so our big ask of Caltrans is to get that messaging out on the anticipated edge stabilization timeline that will allow then for the stoplights to be installed in the unrestricted public access in the single lane. That will allow planning for individuals and for businesses. And that's the most critical information for our community, business community at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really difficult times there. Has there been any information or feedback from your essential workers that are being able to get through? Are they able to continue to do the work that is needed? How long will those essential workers, do you think, be able to continue?
Essential workers are getting access. I'm not aware of any problems there. So the convoys are being managed very effectively in that regard by CHP and Caltrans. The challenges for essential workers and the vendors who are providing supplies for essential workers and essential supplies is that some vendors are unable to bring a delivery down on the 7 o'clock window and not be able to leave until the 5 p.m. window. So that creates, there's different vendors that can accommodate that duration of time spent in the closure zone. Others are unable to do so. So there's a lot of workarounds, and that's where, if there's flexibility within the each hour of the convoy, sometimes vendors can do drop-offs and then immediately turn right around and go back through. But every business and vendor is trying to work through that process to determine how that can work. But as far as the workers that can come through and meet those schedules, that's working very well, and it's been a great help to the community.
That's great to hear. We do have a question that popped up, but I'm not sure it's for you. I'm hoping Jessica is still on the line. The question is, are tourists that have been turned away at the convoys trying to go to Big Sur, or are they trying to drive through Highway 1, for instance, down to Los Angeles, or maybe even Santa Barbara?
Yes, correct. They are trying to go through all the way down to Santa Barbara, LA. So just unaware of the slip out that's current.
Thank you. Any other questions for any of our folks on the Big Sur and the slide? I'm not seeing anything, and nothing in chat. Thank you all very much for taking the time to be on and providing this really important information. And we hope to see you next week with, maybe better news. Moving on to our next topic, we've been talking about one repair. Let's talk about another road project. The Davis Road Bridge near Reservation Road has really become an important commute route versus what it once was an occasional shortcut for people. Many who use this route may be wondering when this low-lying river crossing could be upgraded. And it might surprise you to know that plans have been in the work for some time. We're very pleased to have Enrique Saavedra from our County of Monterey Public Works to talk about this project. Hi, Enrique.
Hi, everybody. Enrique Saavedra from Monterey County Public Works. And I just, again, want to talk about to you about this project we've been working on for a while. In fact, we've been working on this project since about 2005. And project basically is trying to resolve one of the biggest congestions we have in Monterey County, which is folks trying to go between Salinas and the Monterey Peninsula. And as you well know, during the peak hours, which is in the morning and the afternoon, they're very congested. So we're trying to find a way to relieve that, and been trying it for a while. And so the project we're working on right now on Davis, it goes to address some of those concerns. The other concern we have, or issue trying to resolve, is during normal rain years like this year and the year before, when the Salinas River rises or gets swelled, the water comes over Davis Road. This causes us or the need to close Davis Road at the river, and people have to detour around Blanco or down 68, adding to the congested roads even more. So again, we have this project where we're looking to widen Davis Road from Blanco down to Reservation, from the existing 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and put a bridge over the river, a bridge that will allow us to cross the Salinas River year round. This is a big project for us. It's about $96 million for the whole project. We're at the point where we've completed the design for the widening and the bridge. We've gotten all the permits needed for the project. These are permits from Army Corps, from California Fish and Wildlife, from Regional Water Board. So we've over these past years, we've been kind of working through the details of the construction, how it's going to go, and how it's going to be staged and things like that. On the screen here, you see what I'm talking about, when the river swells, the road gets overtopped, and it's because it's a low water crossing. And then right below there, you see kind of schematic what we're looking to build. It's a full-on bridge that you typically see at an interchange. It's 4 lanes wide, and then on the left-hand side, you kind of see a sort of a picture of what it would look like when it's widened. So thank you for that. So one of the things you'll see here, and as we get, again, completing with design, now we're working on the utilities. There's a lot of utilities out there that they're very kind of vital to this area. There's overhead power lines, and then there's a gas transmission line. So this summer, you're going to start seeing some utility artwork. In fact, the first folks you see out there will be folks from PG&E or the contractors working on a gas transmission line relocation. That work is scheduled to begin later this summer, probably mid-June through July. And that work with the gas line and the overhead power lines need to take place before we begin the construction for our work, because they are in conflict, they're in the way of each other. The construction phase is funded through the bridge part of it, at least is funded through a program from the Federal Highway Administration called the Highway Bridge Program. We're still looking to secure funding for the road widening piece. We're working with other grant agencies, and we're submitting the grant applications and to the different agencies that could provide funding so we can fund the road widening part. And we're hopeful that in the next couple months, a year, we can find the full funding. If we find the full funding, we could be in construction of the roadway project and the bridge as early as next summer. And again, it's contingent on finding that additional money that we're short. And just to give you a number, the whole project, again, is about $96 million. And we're short about $25 million of that 96. So I give you some sort of rough idea of the numbers we're talking about. And again, we're working on this project with TAMSI, which is the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. They're kind of our organization for the county that helps us deal with regional roads like Davis Road, like Blanco, like 68. So we're working with them pretty closely. And all the federal funding that we're getting here at the county comes through Caltrans from the Federal Highway Administration. So that's the update I have. And I'm open to having any questions on the project or provide more detail, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Enrique. That is just such a heavily traveled route now as the community has grown, that it's really become, people are wondering what's going on with this little bridge that's really a throwback, to earlier times. I do have a question. The slide that we showed mentions the widening, but also a roundabout. Could you talk a little bit about where the roundabout would go?
Sure. Yeah. And to what you were saying earlier, yeah, the community definitely grown as, all of us, we go down through Marina, we see a lot more housing happening out there. We see the East Garrison development out there as well. So there's definitely a more need for a bigger roadway facility to carry additional traffic. And part of that is also not just the roadway itself, but also the intersections. So for example, when you look at Reservation and Davis, there's a signal there currently to deal with the additional traffic demand that's we expect to come from the Marina area. We're looking to put a roundabout there at the intersection to deal with the more traffic. And then as you go towards Blanco, towards Salinas, we're looking to put a signal at Hitchcock and Davis. So people can make left turns and right turns from all directions there. And then as you approach Blanco, obviously we'll have four lanes on Davis, so that intersection will get more efficient as well. In addition to the vehicular traffic, we're also providing for what we call a Class 2 bike lane. So there'll be an opportunity for people on bicycles to be able to use the road shoulder in its own lane and be able to traverse from Salinas to in the direction of Monterey Peninsula and back. We're also providing what we call a bus queue jump. So in the future, there is a MST bus line that wants to use this corridor. There'll be opportunity for them to be able to kind of jump the queue or get ahead of the line at these intersections. So it would make the flow through congestion faster. Currently, we don't have a MST line through this area, so that's more of a future option if it's decided that MST line goes through this route.
Thank you so much. I know a lot of people this is a very popular bridge. We know that because when you close it, People are very, reactive to it. They're very concerned. What's my route around it going to be? I'm commuting from Marina over to Salinas, and what's my detour? Do you find that there's just a lot of support for this bridge? I mean, the people might be surprised how much it costs, but it really is a whole new bridge that you're putting in there.
Yeah, correct. It's a whole new bridge, and like this past winter when we had the rains, we had to close the road because the water was over the roadway. There's no simply to cross it. So I can share a little image here I have of the area, if I can here. So I'm sure, can you able to see my screen here?
Yes.
So this is a map of the area. Here is Salinas, my arrows at, and then over here on the left is the university, CSU Monterey Bay. Here's Marina. So folks, want to go from Salinas to the Marina or Peninsula area, they either have to go on Blanco or on 68 to get across. Once we have the new bridge and we're able to access it year round, we'll also be able to use Davis. Like I said, this past winter, we had to close the road for a number of weeks when the river was flowing pretty heavily, and it inconvenienced a number of people. And we had to put more traffic on Blanco and more traffic on 68, aggravating the already congested road. So we're hopeful that with this third leg down the middle, we're able to provide more opportunities for people commuting to pick a better route that makes them, I guess, to get to work or school a little faster.
That map really shows the situation. Another question, you mentioned the $25 million shortfall, and you're looking into grants, I understand, and I think you just applied for a grant, which may answer this question about where do you find that 25 million?
That's correct. We're actively looking under every rock possible to find these funds. So, for example, we just submitted an application to the Federal Highway Administration for federal funding to fund this this missing piece. We're hopeful that we will get selected, but obviously it's up to the federal government to provide that funding. We're also looking at, again, Caltrans and TAMC to see if there are any other opportunities to do the work. And we're trying to also see maybe it can be phased in. Maybe if we don't have the full funding for everything, maybe we can do the bridge part and then phase the widening later. So we're trying to be proactive and trying to deal with the funding issue on different fronts, trying to get the money. But then if we don't get the money, how can we still continue with some of the project elements? So again, it's kind of exciting that we're at this point of the project. We're getting ready to construction. We've done a lot of work these past 20 years. Now we just need to get the last bit here, which is I guess the most important part, which is actually building it.
Well, and that was the last question that we had in here is, can you phase? Is this a kind of project that you could phase in parts of it?
Yeah, it's a big project. I said it's a big piece of road that we're trying to improve. So naturally, we should be able to phase it. It's ideally, something like this, you would do like a bridge piece first, and then the roadway piece. So if we were to phase it, we could try to build in the bridge and then the roadway leading to the bridge. The other aspect is that we're only allowed to work in and around the river during certain times of the year. So while certain parts of the bridge are getting done, maybe other parts could also be then completed. So yeah, it lends itself to getting phased, pretty well. Just a matter of how to best do it to at least inconvenience the public.
Thank you. Any other questions for Enrique on the Davis Road widening project? I'm not seeing any in chat. No hands raised. Thank you very much, Enrique, for taking the time to talk about this and putting all of our minds at ease that this bridge may actually happen eventually in our life, right?
Yeah, and then I just ask for a little patience as we work through this. And if you see detours or construction signs, it's a little bit of pain for hopefully a bigger gain later on.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now our next topic, as you all may know, an assistance center for additional help for Pajaro residents was opened on March 27th and has been very busy assisting residents. We're very pleased to have Mindy Esqueda from the Department of Emergency Management here with an update on what is happening at the assistance center. Hi, Mindy. You're on mute. Can you unmute?
Oh, hi. Thank you, Mia.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Did too many things at once here. Okay, so I can go ahead and get this started for you. Okay, so as you know, we have the Pajaro Unmet Needs Program that is happening now. And again, the goal of this is to provide, support to the households affected by the flooding caused by the breach of the Pajaro levee last year in March of 2023. So this program aims to address the critical unmet needs that people in that community still have. Again, just to review some of the eligibility. So it's regardless of, citizenship or immigration status, people to apply, they must have been a resident of Pajaro as on or before March 10th of 2023. We are requiring proof of residency and proof of any extent of any impact that they'd like to claim for damages. And again, this is the reason for that requirement is to avoid that people that are not Pajaro residents and weren't affected. We just want to make sure that the money is getting to the right hands. So that's the requirement in that. In terms of the verification, these are the type of documents that we're requesting that people take and that they've been providing. It's been going very well. Again, some of the documents that people can provide for their identification, we're not really seeing any issues with this at all. People are coming, we've been put out so much information with the information sessions and social media. Most of the people that are arriving are already aware of this. They're bringing most of the documentation with them and their identification, so we're able to get that process started for them. And so what's happening is in the first phase, anyone who was evacuated and was a resident will receive or can qualify to receive a grocery gift card, so food assistance. And this is specifically for people who are evacuated to help cover that cost of the food that was spoiled during that time. Could be anywhere from $200 to $600, depending on the size of the family. The second part is specifically for flood damages. So this could be anything from home repairs that they had to pay out of pocket, personal property that they may have lost, sofa, clothes, things like that, their vehicle, and then also for housing support. So that's kind of what we've been seeing so far. We have now over 600 applications that we've received. And so we will be accepting applications until April 27th. And also we just want to remind everyone, there are people who are coming and they maybe don't have all of the documentation with them, or maybe there's some follow-up that needs to be provided. We just want to make sure that everyone knows, and we've been reminding them that also needs to be submitted by April 27th as well. Again, these are the times and the dates that we are there. It's in Pajaro Park. It's a great setup. We've got a huge tent there. The waiting line is next to nothing now. The first week was extremely busy. But now, the numbers are definitely getting more balanced out. We're able to see people, pretty much as they're coming in now. A lot of people have numbers, from when we originally opened it up the first week. Now they're coming back and they're more than welcome to do that. Some people just come in, we take their information, we give them a number, and it's just a numerical system. Maybe they can't wait that day or they want to come back. They come back and we see them right away. So I'd say that it's progressing very well. People are definitely being able to be seen a lot faster now, especially. And again, just to review, these are basically the next steps. So the application center is open again until the 27th, and then that'll determine eligibility. So all the information that we're receiving in that application will then get passed on. And then hopefully within about 2 to 3 weeks, we can start that phase 1 assistance with the groceries, the food assistance gift card. After that, then if the families or households did receive or did have those damages from the flood itself, they would go on to phase 2 automatically, and a case manager will be assigned. They'll work with that family through the whole process to be able to determine eligibility and receive further assistance to help with that. So that's it in terms of the presentation. But I'm here and welcome to any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you. And to our Spanish language media, would you like Mindy to provide some of this information in Spanish? And while they're answering, we do have a question for you. Let's do that. Do you think the 600 applications is possibly a low turnout given the number of people who had to evacuate in Pajaro? Or do you think we're just not done yet?
We're definitely not done. I mean, there's still, we had expected about this. I'd say we're pretty much right on track for kind of what we expected to see for the people on the residents. And again, a lot of people are coming, but they're not. They don't qualify because they weren't living in Pajaro. There are some people who may have been affected in other areas, and there's been a lot of questions on that. But again, this program is specifically for Pajaro residents. So we do expect to continue, seeing those numbers increase. We're right about where we expected to be, though, at this time.
And do you feel that the residents who have come through really understand what is being offered to them, and that what the next steps would be, where they're not, sometimes you come for assistance, you think it's all going to be there, ready for you right there, but it really is a process with great gains at the end.
Right. So far, I would say everyone is just so appreciative. We completely understand the need here, and they're just so grateful to see the help, arrive. So many people were not able to receive any assistance from FEMA after this happened. So the feedback we're getting is just very appreciative of it. I feel like we haven't had too many people that were disappointed or this isn't what they expected, because of the huge push of information. And as people come up with their ID to sign up, we're giving them the flyer there. There's 2 flyers that we hand out. One is the hours and the information. And again, all of the information is bilingual, one side English, one side Spanish. So we give them the hour information of the site, and then we give them the other flyer that lists the types of documentation that may be required, and that kind of explains a little bit about the assistance. So we're letting everyone know it's not something that they're receiving that day. It's a process, and we have to take the information, but we're working as fast as we can, to get through these applications, process all that, and then provide the assistance that everyone just really, really needs.
Thank you, Mindy. And then we're hoping you could take a minute
Yes.
to give the information in Spanish.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to share that. Bueno, entonces otra vez es el programa de necesidades no cubiertas de Pajaro. Y lo que se trata es ayudando a la gente con las necesidades que no fueron cubiertas. La meta del programa siendo que brindar apoyo a los hogares que fueron afectados. Y es específicamente las inundaciones que pasó en marzo de 2023. Entonces, lo que estamos tratando es ayudar a la gente que fueron evacuados o sufrieron daños que no fueron cubiertos. El criterio para este programa simplemente debe ser un residente de Pajaro que vivió en Pajaro antes o el 10 de marzo, cuando pasó las inundaciones. Ese es el primer requisito. No es independientemente del estado, o sea, migratorio, de ciudadanía, no se pregunta nada de eso, es simplemente ayudar a quien sea que vivió en Pajaro en ese tiempo. Sí estamos pidiendo las pruebas de residencia y también pruebas de cualquier impacto o daños que sufrieran. Puede ser forma como las fotos, o si tienen documentos, por ejemplo, cosas que tuvieran que pagar para arreglar la casa, cosas así. Y esto es simplemente para evitar que gente que no vivió en Pajaro reciba esta ayuda. Queremos asegurar que esta ayuda va específicamente a la gente de Pajaro que tanto lo necesita. Hablando un poquito sobre como los tipos de verificación de documentos que estamos pidiendo, esos son los ejemplos como de identificación que podemos usar para verificar. Y también la prueba de residencia puede ser un estado de cuenta, de luz. Estamos aceptando diferentes ejemplos, y lo que estamos surgiendo toda la gente que vengan al centro de aplicación, aplican. Nosotros entendemos perfectamente que puede ser que hay personas que a lo mejor perdieron los papeles en la nación, no los tienen ahorita. No se preocupen, los trabajadores están trabajando con cada caso, con cada familia, y queremos ayudarlos. Buscamos la manera de ayudar. La primera fase de asistencia que pueden recibir es una tarjeta de comida, asistencia de comida, como le dicen un grocery gift card. Eso sería la primera fase, es para quien sea que fue evacuado y vivió en Pajaro en ese tiempo. Puede ser de $200 a $600, dependiendo de los miembros de la familia. Y el segunda fase se trata de daños por inundación, reparaciones en el hogar o al carro, o quizás perdieron su ropa, su sofá, cosas personales, o también apoyo de vivienda. Entonces, automáticamente con una sola aplicación, si sufrieron esos daños, van a pasar a la segunda fase. Progreso hasta ahorita hemos recibido más de 600 aplicaciones. Todo va procesando muy bien. Estamos aceptando las aplicaciones hasta el 27 de abril. Así es que sugerimos a toda la gente que vayan al centro de aplicaciones antes del 27 para asegurar que apliquen para este programa. También la gente que les faltan ciertos documentos que tienen que regresar y proveer, también les recordamos también asegurar que los provean antes del 27 de abril. Esos son los horarios y los días que estamos allí, esperando para ayudarlos en todos los días. Simplemente los domingos y los lunes está cerrado. Esos son los siguientes pasos. Otra vez estamos ahí hasta el 27 y ya después del 27 se cierra el periodo de aplicaciones. Y después van a pasar a revisar la elegibilidad y proveer las tarjetas de la ayuda de asistencia de comida. Y después ya van a pasar automáticamente a la segunda fase si es que tuvieran esos daños. Y los trabajadores de casa van a trabajar con las familias para ayudarlos y determinar la ayuda que pueden recibir. Y eso es todo sobre la presentación y puedo contestar preguntas en español también si gustan.
Thank you so much, Mindy, for taking the time to do that. Are there any questions for Mindy that you would like to have answered in Spanish from any of our participants? Seeing none, thank you again, Mindy, for taking the time to be here. Great to hear about the progress that is happening at the center, and we look forward to getting kind of a final wrap up towards the end of the month.
Thank you, Maya. Happy to report later on. Thank you.
Thanks. And our last topic, but certainly not least, because how many of us don't have a dog or a pet? It is National Dog Bite Prevention Week, and this is a really good time to share some words of wisdom, which is any dog can bite. We're very pleased to have Cindy Burnham from Hitchcock Road Animal Services here to talk about tips about dog bite prevention. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Maya. Thank you. Hi, I'm Cindy Burnham with Hitchcock Road Animal Services, and I will share my screen and hopefully share some tips and reminders for pet owners because most bites are preventable. So we would love to prevent, here we go, some dog bites. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So as a reminder, Hitchcock Road is at 160 Hitchcock Road. We have our hours Tuesday through Saturday from 1 to 5. We accept lost pets from unincorporated county in the cities of Salinas, Marina, Delray Oaks, Carmel, CSU, and BN, Greenfield. And while we don't accept animals that need to be surrendered by their owners, we're definitely here to provide some resources and answer any questions. And happy to show, and I don't want to talk about it too much to jinx it, but we're at 90%, 98% dog capacity, which we have not been in a super long time. We are going into our busy months though, so we do expect that to increase. And with cats at 28%, again, we are seeing every month our cat numbers start to go up. We are in kitten season. So if you have a cat and it's not spayed or neutered, please reach out for resources and get those kitties fixed. So as Maya said, it's Dog Bite Prevention Week. And so we're trying to pass on some information. We see about 300 bite investigations annually of bites that are reported to us, either through the hospitals or through victims that get bit. And so what we do is we'll figure out what's happened. Are the dogs vaccinated? What's the severity? Make sure quarantines happened, as I'll get into. But that definitely keeps us busy, and we get certain spikes. We definitely see spikes in the summertime when kids are not in school. And so, so it's just some important tips. We do think most dog bites are preventable, as we'll get into. Owners ultimately are responsible for making sure their dogs are not in situations to bite. And so it's really being aware of your surroundings and your dog. And children make up probably more than 50% of bites. And so making sure if you have dogs and kids, or dogs around kids, or kids that may be around dogs, that everybody's really aware of what's going on, because we want to protect our kids. So anybody can do anything. Ask first when you meet up a dog. Always say, hey, may I pet your dog? I know I managed a dog that was not okay with that for many years. And a lot of people just want to go up and say hi. But not all dogs want you to say hi. So it's being respectful of that. Getting that permission. Don't touch a dog who is sleeping, eating, or chewing a toy. Be respectful that they might not know you're there. And staying away from a dog who's barking or growling or does not seem super excited to have you there. A wagging tail does not mean friendly. A lot of times it can be an alert. So just really being aware of what's around you. Dog owner's responsibility. As Maya said, any dog can bite. It's when they're put into situations. And so dog owners, it's really on us to make sure that we're being aware of our dogs and in the situations that we're putting them in. Securing your dogs at all times. If your dog's out running loose and it goes and bites somebody or is put in a situation to bite, you are responsible for that. The fix to that is to not let your dogs be off your property. Make sure that they are secured. Using signage is needed for those entering the yards. If you have a bad dog or a dog that maybe people need to be aware of, help out those that are delivering our mail or all of our Amazon packages. They get bit a lot. U.S. Postal Service even has their own training for that, because if you think about it, they're entering our properties, which our dogs are there to protect. So making sure that they're safe and that they are properly noticed so that they can not get bit. Training and socializing your dog. Using positive training techniques are the most successful, but getting your dog used to having different people in different situations. And that starts really young, but you can teach old dogs some new tricks. Don't leave children unsupervised with dogs, even family pets. We see children get bit by dogs in their family. It's not that they're all bad dogs. A lot of times us as humans don't read the signs of the dog that is saying, I'm not comfortable for this. And there's a ton of different ones we can go into, but not all dogs, most dogs are not okay with ears being pulled and tails being pulled and being climbed on. And those are a lot of the situations we see dog bites. Teaching your children the simple ways to interact with dogs. Again, not doing those things, not getting into the dog's food bowls, making sure that the dog's bed is the dog's bed and not the children in the dog's bed. It's a lot of just respecting those boundaries and understanding that dog behavior is not human behavior. Always walk your dog on a leash. We get a lot of complaints about people who are letting their dogs run off leash. We just did a post earlier that our health information folks created for us. There are very few off-leash dog parks in Monterey County, but if it's not noted as off-leash, you can consider it on leash. So keep your dogs on a leash. It also helps others that are walking their dogs, because not everybody wants to be approached by another dog on a walk. Make sure your pet is healthy. A lot of times our pets can't tell us if they're not feeling well. And I know when I'm not feeling well, I'm likely to be probably more grumpy and less tolerant, and so are our pets. So, and then monitoring your dog's behavior, taking it slow, be aware of when they're starting to show signs of stress and not putting them in a situation to fail. So if you are bitten, every situation is different, but stop, stand still, slowly remove yourself from the area, notify the dog owner if they're around and you're able to, seek medical care as needed. Medical providers are required to complete a bite report and to notify us for purpose of rabies control. And we do recommend folks or victims follow up with animal services. We just, had a press release last week. We do see rabies in Monterey County in our wildlife. We are considered a pandemic county in that it lives within our local wildlife, bats, skunks. We recently had a fox. So it is out there, and we may not know that they're sick because they've had it for so long. We do require a quarantine for animal to human bites for 10 full days with no rabies exposure. And depending on whether that happens at the shelter or in the home, depends on the situation. We do allow home quarantines where it's applicable. We will verify rabies vaccines and quarantine related information, but we do not make medical care recommendations. That's always comes from the person's doctor. For any questions on dog bites, you can contact us at 831-769-8856. If you have questions on rabies, you can call the Communicable Disease Unit at 831-755-4521. And just another quick reminders, lost and found, because we're going into our busy season as we get into warmer months. We do have a texting platform where you can text some single words, 831-LOST or 831-FOUND, and get tips and videos and links and reports. And so we definitely want to encourage the community to use that because it's 24 hours. So hopefully trying to get folks as much information as possible. And we're still doing our special adoption hours. We are open till 7 o'clock tonight for adoptions. And so we're doing this, increasing a few hours each month. We're also having a special pop-up event this Sunday from 12 to 3 with some reduced adoption prices and hopefully get some critters out of here. And there's my contact information should you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Cindy, thanks so much for that thorough walkthrough of bite prevention. And we talked about any dog can bite, but are there misconceptions about what dogs will bite versus dogs that people think will not bite? I think people are very breed specific when it comes to bites.
Yes, just having a pit bull does not mean it will bite. And also golden retrievers can bite. But yeah, anything with teeth can bite. That's how they communicate. That's their mechanism. And so put into a fight or flight, if we've taken away flight, then that's really all they have. But it's in certain situations, if they have to act defensive, then that's what they need to do. Injured dogs, you find an injured dog on the side of the road, you go to pick it up, and because it's hurt, it may bite. We see quite a few of those. And so yeah, it's understanding your pet, what you have, knowing their limits. I know I used to have a dog that after 4 people showed up in my house, you could see the panting and just the stress, and I'd go put him in his crate in his room and shut the door, and I would take him out of that situation because I identified that he was acting stressed, and I didn't want to put him in a situation where the next person that walked in, he said, "Yep, that's enough. I need to protect my house." So it's just being aware of that.
And then I just wanted to get your thoughts on one more thing. There's a lot of influencers and social media about, roly-poly happy dogs. But then there are also people who are showing that they walk their dogs with muzzles and other bite prevention and aggression paraphernalia. And I just wanted to, I think people who take that extra step to protect people and their dog from a biting situation really should be supported and not made to feel like I shouldn't take my dog outside, or, what should I do with this dog who isn't just friendly with everyone?
Right. I think that's being responsible. Because again, a lot of people just say, "Oh, you're walking your dog on a leash, I'm just going to go say hi." And it's saying it, they're being responsible in that I'm taking my dog for a walk. There's a lot of ways you can walk a dog with that protective gear, that the dog's comfortable, the human's comfortable, but it's also understanding that I have a dog who has these tendencies and I want to go out and be social. I want to walk my dog. And so it's just managing that. Working with a behaviorist or somebody that can also help you identify and manage that is also recommended. But, we want our pets to be part of our life, and sometimes we have to manage that a little differently.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks very much for that great information, those great tips, and it's great to see you guys open late while the weather's nice.
I know. Come on out, 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Cindy. And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.